In this video, we're touring an incredibly beautiful, handcrafted, 2-story treehouse. The builder put a lot of love into this project, and he even went to a sustainable treehouse building school to learn how to build in a way that would protect the trees and allow them to stay alive and healthy while supporting a structure. So he's going to share some of what he's learned and how it all works, and he's also going to give us a full tour of the inside of the treehouse, where the attention to detail and craftsmanship is quite impressive.
So both of the trees that support this half of the treehouse are maple. This one, the larger one, and the main support is a red maple, and at the back side here is a sugar maple, slightly smaller, but actually a more ideal tree to build in. Sugar maple is probably the most ideal tree to build in a treehouse. Very resilient, strong, long-living trees. Some tree houses do have trees going right through the internal part of the structure, but in our climate with winter, the tree get very confused if it was winter and frozen beneath, but then in the structure nice and warm. So we had to keep the trees outside, but still wanted that treehouse feel of the tree coming up and through the structure. So we've got some very specialized hardware that supports the treehouse and ensures the longevity of the trees. And an interesting thing is, on the exterior of the tree, about the first 2 inches is where all those living cells are that are taking, food up and storing sugars. And in the middle, it's wood, it's lumber, it's kind of the support for the tree. And so by putting the hardware all the way through the tree, you're not causing any more impact to the tree and its ability to carry what it needs to up and down the tree, but you are putting the load nice and safe on either side of the tree instead of just on one. So a question we get asked a lot is, how can you cut into a tree or put hardware into a tree like that and not harm the tree? And the fact of the matter is, trees are very resilient and can handle something like this, assuming you do it properly. So it's really important that you're using clean tools, cleaning the wound that you open, and then installing the hardware immediately, because the biggest challenge you could run into is any kind of disease, fungus, or anything like that getting into that wound before you seal it up. So it's really interesting to find out that this is far less a concern, putting the hardware into the tree, than the compaction of the soil around the trees. And so using any kind of machinery can compact the soil and actually starve out the roots. And that's a far more detrimental effect to the tree than the hardware itself. These hardwoods grow very slowly, but they are growing. And as they grow towards some of the hardware that's on the tree attachment bolts, we have the ability to move those out as the tree grows over time. Now this tree, the red maple, the larger tree, is the static point. It's a very large tree that doesn't move very much, whereas the sugar maple in behind, it actually has dynamic hardware. So the joists are just sitting on some high density plastic, but the tree will move underneath the joists. And that's really important, that the trees are able to move independently from one another, because if the trees were tied together to static points, then when it's trying to get that energy release when the trees are moving, there's a chance that you could split the trunk of the tree or cause other harm. Getting to this point was a fairly long road. I went to a treehouse school in 2014, and from that point learned a lot about the hardware itself. And an engineer that we worked with, Charlie Greenwood, is the one who designed these tree attachment bolts, and he's out in Oregon, and introduced us to a consulting arborist who we work closely with. And he does a process called sonic tomography, where he puts sensors around the trees, and that data goes back to the computer and creates an image of the interior of the tree. So this way he can tell us that this tree is strong, healthy, suitable, and this allows us to determine where we should be placing the hardware. So when it comes down to it, probably the most important aspect to treehouse building is at all costs protecting the trees themselves, the roots surrounding them, and taking that into account when going through that construction process and thereafter. In building a treehouse, some purists might say, a treehouse should only be supported by trees, and there's certainly something to appreciate about that. In our case, we wanted to build this structure on the property we had and with the trees that we had. So in designing it, we used the 2 trees we've discussed, and then we also have 2 steel posts in behind here, and there's actually a third one of those posts hidden in this insulated column. And the insulated column has our electrical panel, as well as our drain and all the water. Everything's kind of held in that column that services the treehouse.
Before getting to the treehouse tour, we want to quickly thank our sponsor. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp, and we'll share a bit of our experience using it. So BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. We've both used BetterHelp over the past few years to get help with anxiety, and we're still incorporating the tips and tools we've learned from our therapy sessions in our day-to-day life. What we like about using BetterHelp is how easy it is to get matched with a therapist. We like being able to choose the type of session. For example, I prefer phone sessions and Danielle prefers video sessions. And we like how flexible it is, so we can have a therapy session at home, on the road, and pretty much anywhere. BetterHelp's licensed therapists can help with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences, and BetterHelp matches you with a therapist from their network. And if your therapist isn't a good fit for any reason, you can easily switch to a new one. Using BetterHelp is more affordable than traditional therapy, and they also have financial aid available. Plus, you can get 10% off your first month using our custom link, which is betterhelp.com/exploringalternatives, and that's BetterHelp. We'll also put a link in the description below for you. So now let's get back to our treehouse tour.
So coming up the stairs, you enter onto a big deck covered at a point and open at another. Got a seating area and then those clear view panels as the guard at the front, so you can see straight through the trees. Fire pit area down below, and just really an unobstructed view of the forest. So we're in a treehouse, and we're about 13 feet off the ground, but this is a foyer. We've kind of just come in. It's a small space, but everything you might need. So as you enter, we've got a bench, of course, for taking off your shoes, some storage underneath, basket with everything you need to make your fire outside or to start the wood-fired hot tub, and some hooks for all of your jackets. Of course, it's a pretty minimal space, but we still wanted to be able to hang coats and anything else you might need. And then just up top, we've actually got a HRV units, so fresh air coming in year round, and it's got a heat exchanger in it, so it's putting air out and back in as we go, but it's just installed into the wall because we have no ductwork, of course, going through the treehouse. So this is the main living space, open concept. The whole unit itself is about 370 square feet. So obviously, being a small space, we didn't have a lot to work with, but wanted to be very comfortable all season. So we put a very large couch, comfortable for two people, a coffee table, a selection of books that we find very interesting with treehouses, small structures, interesting architecture, and then a selection of records that we've curated for people to listen to while they're here, which I think is a pretty neat feature that people do like. Coffee table does act as both a coffee table, but also a dining table. The whole kitchen area, of course, everything you might need to cook a reasonable sized meal. So we did get a propane cooktop and oven combo, and of course, you've got your vent fan, you've got your sink, toaster, pour over coffee and burr grinder, a small fridge, a little larger than your standard mini fridge, but usually enough. And then everything you might need from pots and pans to glassware and cutlery and everything else. Of course, we might add a thing or two, but we think it's very well appointed now. And then to heat the whole space, we've got a Yodel propane fireplace. So this is actually the main heat source for the whole treehouse and keeps it very cozy year round. We also have some earthen floors, so it's straw and clay and sand, all locally sourced, and they actually hold the heat from the sun coming in the big 12-foot window and help to heat the space as well through the winter and keep it cool actually during the summertime. It was part of the plan that in order to get proper airflow, we wanted to have it open, and because the structure is so well insulated, we didn't need to install any AC, and even on most of the hottest days of summer, it's still very comfortable in the treehouse. You can see we used a pre-finished Baltic birch ply all throughout, and part of the reason for that is that in a treehouse there's always going to be some movement over time. So if you use a drywall or product like that, plaster, it would likely crack over time. So we were able to install the Baltic birch panels, and we think it gives a really nice aesthetic, but also works well with a structure that's always going to move ever so slightly. So bathroom design, probably the greatest feature of the bathroom is the shower itself. So custom tiled shower with almost floor to ceiling window looking out into the trees. Glass door and a line drain at the end. So no drain messing things up in the middle of your shower. It's right at the end out of the way, and a rain shower head. We also have in-floor heat in both the shower and the bathroom floor. So it's electric. The whole place is actually run off solar that powers the entire treehouse. So the solar array is 4 panels. They're about 300 watt each panel. We've got 8 batteries that runs and an inverter that's 4 kilowatts. As you might expect, it's the largest draw by far, so we're about 400 watts when the in-floor heat comes on, but we super insulated the floor underneath so that it actually only runs for about 4 hours a day to keep the floor at heat even through the winter. So we found that the system is well sized. Since we have a home next door, we're grid tied as well. So if for whatever reason we don't have sun for a period of time, the batteries need that support, we're grid tied rather than having a generator. Now we thought that was a nice backup, but largely the solar supports the whole place, aside from anything, of course, that's run off propane like the fireplace, hot water. So everything does flow into a traditional septic. So we do have holding tank filter bed that we installed just for the treehouse itself. And that was a unique challenge in that everything has to come up and down an insulated column in order to get the utilities in and out of the treehouse, since we're up in the trees and operating at minus 30. And to the back, we've installed an outdoor shower, of course, open, spring, summer, fall, just kind of built into the deck, and a nice little privacy and great spot for a shower. And we've got a nice little cleared spot with the wood-fired hot tub, and just a magical kind of space in the forest at night. We've got the lights surrounding it, and you can see the stars up above. This is a custom-made ladder. It was produced by Black & Smith Ironworks. It's reasonably steep. It's a ship's ladder, but we wanted to make sure that we had good handholds and support. And so we carried the railing up, and most commercial ship's ladders would have something similar, so that as you're climbing the ladder, you have something to hold on to as you get all the way up, and if you're coming back down, something to hold as you step down. Certainly steeper than stairs, but gives you that treehouse feel. You're climbing up a ladder into the bedroom, into the loft. So we're in the loft now, the bedroom. And 360-degree window. So we've got the big 6 by 12 foot window at the foot of the bed, and then to the side behind, and then some windows up top as well, so you can really see the canopy of the trees, which are beautiful oranges and reds right now. So we've got a king size bed, some built-in bedside shelving and lights. We kept the ceilings nice and high. We wanted to feel big and open, and some clear glass railings off the front so it doesn't obstruct your view out that big front window. So in the bedroom we have the earthen floor as well, so that's that locally sourced clay and straw and sand. So operable windows up in the bedroom on both sides. Nice thing that we have a 3-foot overhang on the outside, so even during heavy rains you can have the windows nice and open. And on the far side, the windows up top are operable as well, and so you can get a nice cross breeze, and just some very simple privacy blinds, shades that we've put in. So really the storage is for cleaning supplies, our hot water heater, and other utilities. And to kind of tuck that away, we created a little removable panel. It's just got rare earth magnets that hold it on, but it opens up and allows us to store anything that we might need. It was 2014, I think, that I found a treehouse school, sustainable treehouse build and design, at a place called Yestermorrow, and it's in Vermont, and learned a lot about the mechanics of working with trees, ensuring that they can still thrive and survive while holding a structure like this. When it came to the design and build of the treehouse, Lauren, my wife, designed the structure, the interior, very kind of Scandinavian feel and very minimal. And we worked with a friend of ours, Lindsay Duffy, who was architectural designer. She helped to bring it to life, so did the elevations and drawings for us. And when it came to building it, of course, we had some very talented help, friends of ours help with the framing, but much of the structure I built by myself with Lauren's help and helps of friends and family. So a little bit of a feat because we couldn't use any machines when building the structure, being that we needed to protect the roots of the trees. And so everything was done using rigging and techniques to get the big beams and materials up into the tree without use of machines. So we founded Fort Treehouse Company in 2019 and built this as our proof of concept and have since been renting it. And so the intention is to building more tree houses. So we're kind of hooked now.
Subscribe to Exploring Alternatives and please share this video if you liked it. You can also find out more about Fort Treehouse on Instagram, and we'll also put a link to their website in the description of the video. Thanks for watching.